How's the water? How's the interview water?
Oh, it's great. It's much better than regular water.
Isn't it? I love interview water.
I feel like it's just getting everything going.
I feel like we should do an interview pour too.
I think so too.
Right? Like we already have water in here, but it just looks cool for Joey's edit.
Yes.
And the sound effect too.
You can put it in slow motion. Should we do an interview cheers?
Interview cheers are the greatest.
Interview cheers. Perfect. Very good.
So hello, Phoebe.
Hello, Matt.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is your Deering story. We're gonna get to know you a little bit and talk about your time here. And so let's start right there at the beginning. Tell me about you.
Well, my name is Phoebe, as you said, and I just graduated from Desert Mountain High School in May, and I am leaving actually on Monday, so in just like a few days, and I'm going to Columbia College in Chicago, and I'm studying comedic writing and performance, and then I'm minoring in arts management with a concentration in performing arts. So I'm super excited about that.
That's a lot. That sounds like a big deal. So is that something you always knew you wanted to do? Like since you were little, did you know you wanted to be a comedian, a writer?
I didn't specifically know comedy, but I knew, well, when I was really little, I knew I really wanted to be an actress, and I really wanted to be a teacher. And like my whole life I was like, or not my whole life, but maybe up until I was like 14, I was like so like torn up about this, and I was like, I really want to be a teacher, but I also really want to be an actress. And people would say to me, why don't you just teach acting? And I'd be like, oh, what? No, I want to teach elementary school, but I also want to be an actress. You can't combine them. And I didn't like understand that it's a whole multifaceted world, and you can do different things. And then I think after I started coming here, and I was on the improv troupe here, and I just fell in love with improv comedy, and I knew I wanted to do sketch and improv and all that stuff. And then
and even in high school, you were teaching, right?
Yeah, I taught at a overnight summer camp that I went to. I taught kids improv, and then I taught improv at my high school to our high school troupe, which was a lot of fun. And
did you launch that troupe?
No, I didn't.
That was already going?
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time. But
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was drama club president and improv team captain and all that stuff. So I was pretty involved in the high school and over here and at some other theaters. So I really fell in love with it during high school, just getting to be so involved. It was always, improv and comedy and acting was always something I really enjoyed, but I didn't start to really realize the extent of how passionate I was about it and how much change it can do for yourself and for the world until I started getting into my later years of high school, and I knew this is what I want to do. And Columbia was one of the only schools with a program where it wasn't just like a theater program, it was specific to comedy, writing, and performance, and that was something I really wanted. So,
have there been? Did you research? Is there? I don't even know. Are there people who have been through there who have like gone on for writing careers?
Yeah, A.D. Bryant is actually she's from Phoenix. She went to Xavier. Yeah. She went to Columbia, did the same program as me, and
nice.
I mean, obviously we all know what she's doing now.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
Yeah, they have a lot of super great alumni. A.D. Bryant is just a super cool one for me since she's from Phoenix and is now on SNL. That's insane to me. And so that's what I usually say when people ask that question, but there have been a lot of alumni that are doing super cool stuff, and
that's great.
I'm really excited.
So tell me, how did you find this place?
I think I found it sophomore year of high school because I was just doing research. I was like, I know this is what I want to do for my career, and I wanted to figure out the best way to do that. And then I toured the school with my family, which my family is amazing. They're so supportive, and so we went on a trip to Chicago and toured a bunch of different schools. And I remember my sibling, they're so funny. They used to have a notebook and they would keep it taped to their shoes so they could always take notes. And they were just showing me a couple days ago, they were like, these are the notes I took like on Columbia when we toured it. And they were like, the other school, it was like con. And they were like, Columbia, just this seems great for Phoebe. And I was like,
cool.
This is so cute.
So you just knew that was the right place?
Yeah.
You had like a feeling on the inside?
Yeah, and a big part of it was the program, and I really wanted to be in the city and all that, so it just seemed perfect.
Great. Okay. So let's go backwards then. When you came here, this says you started here when you were 12.
Yes.
How old are you now?
I am 18.
Okay, that's a long time. So you've been here about 6 years. So tell me about when you discovered Deering Acting Studio.
My mom actually found you guys originally, which I'm super grateful for. I think she she was looking up reviews online because I'd done improv a little bit and I'd taken some classes other places, but it wasn't really real like training, and I was like, I really enjoy this, but like I don't know how to do it and I want to be really good at it. And my mom was like, honey, like I did some research for you and I found somewhere I think you can really like grow with your improv and all that, because she's just so supportive and she knew that's what I wanted to do. And I was like, wow, thanks, Mom. And I was so excited. I was so nervous. I was such like an awkward teen. I'm still an awkward teen. I guess I was an awkward preteen then. But like, yeah, I started in the improv classes here, just doing that once a week. And then.
Do you remember your first class?
Yeah, I do. I remember being so nervous, and my mom dropped me off and she was like, you'll have so much fun. And I like walked in here just like this ball of like tension, and I really just wanted to love it. And I walked in and I immediately, everyone was so nice and so welcoming. And I mean, I remember who was on staff then and all that. Everyone was so nice to me, and it was like one of the teen classes, and I still remember everyone who was in that class and who I did teens with. They were all just super kind people, and like I still follow them on like social media, and I'm like, oh, you're doing so great. But it was just so fun, and I just remember my mind being blown. And Leanne, his wife, I mean, you know that's why I didn't.
My wife.
But she was my first like real improv teacher, and I just remember like thinking she was amazing, and I was like, wow, like this woman is so smart, and like she knows all this stuff about improv, and like I'd said earlier, I'd always really wanted to be a teacher, and I never really realized you could combine those things. But here I saw like a smart, like beautiful woman just like teaching improv, and I was like, could I like be like that? And I was blown away, because like I said, I'd been doing it in the past, but no one had ever given me technique or formulas or anything like that. They'd just been like, here's this game, go play it.
Right.
And I'd be like, I know this is fun and I know I like this, but I know there's a way to be good at it. And she just right away was giving us concrete drill like tools, and I remember we were doing like drills and all that, and I was like, this is amazing, like I have to do this. Like it was just so cool.
I'm gonna have to tell Leanne the story, because you know it's interesting. You never know the impact you have on people's lives.
Yeah.
You know? And here's this girl who wants to be a teacher and an actor, and then sees another girl doing exactly what she wants to do, and I mean that's really cool. Leanne's gonna love that.
Yeah,
story.
and I mean I just remember she was so confident, and I could tell she just was so smart and knew what she was doing, and I was just blown away. I was like, I could do that, like that's crazy to me. So yeah, please tell her that.
I will. Yeah, I was pretty blown away by her too, so I just married her. Ding, jokes. All right. Cool. So yeah, have a sip. You want some more?
Thank you. Sure.
Well,
we can do another pour.
little interview water here. Mid interview pour. Usually we don't drink all the water. Maybe you and I will drink all the water.
We can set a record.
It'll be our unique interview. Here. That's good.
It's good stuff. Now there's so much pressure to drink all the water.
Now I'm just worried I don't have to use the restroom halfway through. Okay, so now I'd like to talk to you about how the studio has impacted you outside of here, because that's a big part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Is you know, we have plenty of success stories of people getting acting jobs,
right.
But that's not really what we do. You know, I aim to try to help people change their lives and find themselves a little bit. So, so I just wanted you to share if any of that has happened for you, any kind of impact the studio's had outside the classroom here.
Yeah, absolutely. The studio has had a huge impact on my life, and I tell everyone about it, and I'm like, it doesn't matter like if you want to do improv or acting, like just come here, just do it. You're gonna learn so much. And I could go on and on. I've learned so many, just like even such valuable communication skills, like the way I talk to others, and just even in high school, I mean, I've had some really like difficult people to deal with in like the theater world there, and I think I just doing improv and acting here has really taught me how to navigate it and how to just, I'm a super like empathetic person, but I feel like sometimes I like will internalize that, and I'll be like, I have all this empathy like bottled up, but like here you guys teach empathy and kindness, so I've learned how to like take that and like actually use it to be like, okay, I see what you're going through, like I see that you're having a hard time. I might not know like what it's about, but like I know that I can be kind to you and like see that you're coming from a difficult place, and everyone's just trying to do their best. And I think without the studio, I would just be holding a lot of that inside, but I've learned how to kind of like manifest it and like just be more understanding instead of getting frustrated when people maybe aren't listening to me or aren't seeming to be very flexible or very kind, or instead of being like, oh, well, they're a mean person and writing them off, or oh, they're not flexible, they're closed-minded and writing them off. Probably the most valuable thing I've learned is how to take like my empathy and be like, okay, how does this apply? How can I be kind to this person in this situation, even though maybe they're not being very nice to me or my friends, or they're not really listening or anything like that. So that was probably one of the most valuable things I've learned. And just listening in life is so important. It's one of the biggest things I learned from improv and from you guys. Like, even right now, like, I can tell you're really listening to like everything I'm doing and saying. And in Masterclass, like, we really learned how to listen to each other. And
tell me about Masterclass, because you just kind of got into that recently, and there's only a few people that get in at a young age, and you were one of them. So tell me about that experience for you.
Masterclass was amazing. I think it totally transformed me as an actor. And just looking back, I ended Masterclass with the same scene that I started with at the beginning, and looking back from how that scene ended to how I was performing it originally was one of the craziest transformations I could imagine. And I wanted so badly to be a good actor, and that was really something that I wanted, and improv always came a little more naturally to me than like script acting did. And in Masterclass, you really helped me realize that those are just the same, and I don't have to be like, I'm good at this, I'm working on this. I can be working on all of it and be good at all of it, but always be growing, and like I don't have to like compartmentalize things so much. And you really, at the end there, you really settled onto the stage. You know, I think you talked about listening. I think you found a way to listen at a higher level. And you had an experience, you said, right, where you saw someone who had some of the same bad habits, and you were like, oh, dang. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, what was that like? Because I remember specifically, you just went so far into truth in your scene at the end, and it was mind-blowing. Thank you.
I want to know what that felt like.
It felt so good, and it was so cool. These are very good like descriptors, but
yeah.
I mean, like
what's the difference between what you did in your last scene in Masterclass and the way you used to act, like say on the stage in high school? Like, what's the difference in the feeling?
I think there are a million differences. The main one probably just, I wasn't really there before, like in high school or even when I first started in Masterclass. Like, I wasn't really present. I wasn't really listening and allowing myself to believe their circumstances and all that. I was judging myself, and I was in my head.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like you said, settled and just able to kind of calm down and like live in the moment and like listen.
And I'd say from my perspective, it was never coming from a negative place or a selfish place. But I think in the past, when you started, because you didn't know any better, you were just trying too hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were trying to be good instead of being selfless and doing what was best for the scene and emotionally connecting in, knowing that that's eventually going to make you look good.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But it's not even my goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very cool. All right. Here we go. We got a couple questions left here.
Sorry, I'm talking so much.
Talk to me about your process as an actress and kind of what you go through now.
My process as an actress is totally different now than it used to be. I used to be in high school shows, and I would get the script, and my teacher would say, stand here, deliver this line, and be funny. And I'd be like, okay, and that would be it, and I'd memorize it. Half the time I wouldn't even know what I was saying. But now I've learned that that's atrocious, and my process is totally different. And even just like when I first started in Masterclass doing the 50 questions, I'd never looked that closely into a character, and that was just skimming the surface of like the things I do now and the things you guys have taught me to do. And it's just been so helpful to be in an environment where everyone really works so hard and really cares so much. And I think the biggest thing, like you say, is just like to fall in love with your character. I didn't understand that before, and I wasn't trying to do that. I wasn't capable of doing that. And I think now that's a big part of where it comes from for me is I'm like, while I'm doing backstory work or any of that stuff, it's like, see how this person is coming from a place of love. Like, you're all coming from the same place. You all want the same thing, no matter how different I am from this character. And I think that was a huge transformative thing for me, for sure. Just
awesome. So it's one of my favorite questions. So what's one word that comes to mind that you would use to describe this place?
I said I would use the word transformative to describe this place, just because every single person I've seen walked in here has walked out here a different person. It doesn't matter if like you're here for a month or if you're here for 6 years. Like, everyone grows and changes, and I've seen it happen, and it's super incredible. And it's like everything you've been saying, it's transformative both for your acting but also personally, like, and it's just so cool to see all that come together, like all the work you've been doing as an actress and then all the work you've been doing on yourself. You can kind of bring it together in this place, and it's really amazing, especially since I've been here for so long, just to look back on the person that I was when I was 12 and I was so scared and insecure and all that, and just to see how much I've grown here. It's really incredible.
So much. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't know.
We don't need to. Let me end here. What advice would you give somebody who's maybe scared? Maybe they're that 12-year-old that's scared and they're thinking, "Gosh, I don't know what to do, if I should do this as a career or walk in the door." What would you tell that person?
I would say just do it. Just walk through that door. Come audit a class. Like, don't think about it. Just come in here and do it. You don't need to know your end goal. You don't need to know if you want to be an actress, if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be an acrobat. It literally does not matter. Like, just walk in here, talk to Shay, sign up for a class. I promise you won't regret it. No one will regret it. And once you come here, you're just going to want to keep coming back, and you're never going to look back. So my advice is just walk through the door. Don't think about it. Put all your self-doubt and your worry aside and just charge in and do what you want to do.
Okay, now what if I was to ask you to write a comedic commercial for Deering Studio on the spot? What would you come up with?
I would say I'd have maybe some kids playing pass the clap, and then I'd have Joey.
Brian with no fingers?
Yeah, Brian with no, exactly.
Okay.
Joey over there making espresso. Maybe the espresso machine doesn't work, and maybe everyone's struggling a little bit, and then you could walk in like, "Welcome to Deering Acting Studio," and there could be like music like, "Ah," and then like everyone's problems are fixed suddenly, and Brian still doesn't have fingers, but he can clap, and then the espresso comes out, and everything just works, and you're like, the magic of acting. That's what I'd say.
Amazing. I think she's in the right profession. Okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
For today's interview.
Oh.
I really appreciate our time together. And look what we just did.
Perfect. Success.